All right, so the last thing we're reviewing is a double feature. We are going to be looking at Paralysed Age, their first album on Dancing Ferret Records that we can't legitimately call their first album, and we'll talk about why, and their most recent release, Intermezzo, which just came out last week.
April 25th.
That sounds right.
Nobody's gonna tell us we're wrong.
It was supposed to come out in March, but it ended up getting delayed. And this has been definitely one of my most anticipated releases because they've been dead for about 13 years. Excuse me,
out of the scene.
Undead for 13 years.
Undead. And they're back.
So we are going to talk about their first album on Dancing Ferret Records in 1999, which is Empire of the Vampire. Most people think that this is their first album. It is actually a compilation of their Bloodsucker EP and their real first album, Nocturne, which were both on Glasnost Records, which you may never have heard of.
So Bloodsucker EP came out in 94.
Mm-hmm.
The Nocturne album came out in 99.
I think it came out
94 as well?
No, like 95, 96.
There's no way.
So
94.
Yeah, so Empire of the Vampire.
Oh, they both came out. They both came out in 94.
Yeah, so Empire of the Vampire came out 5 years after that on Dancing Ferret as a compilation. And this features such dance floor hits as
Nocturne
and Bloodsucker, which, if you're into Dancing Ferret comps round about year 2000, you may know Bloodsucker as the Tsimisi clan song off of Music from the Succubus Club, which was a companion compilation for the Vampire the Masquerade White Wolf pen and paper tabletop game, which I'm a huge fan of. I think it goes with the whole vampire obsessed goth territory, and that is part of why I loved Empire of the Vampire. It's super vampire,
and the cover is everything you could ever hope for. It's in a 90s vampire goth album.
Yeah, it's red and features two pretty alternative girls getting all necky.
I don't know, necky. Just
necky. But Paralysed Age has a very goth rock dark wave sound, so they have like the goth more guitars, and they have the the brooding deep vocals, but they also have some really nice synth lines too that go underneath it, so it also sounds very 90s goth rock.
I enjoy that every song isn't exactly the same.
Yeah.
So each one has a different kind of pace and a different tempo. And then you'll have one that's all, not all, but like mostly goth rock guitars. And then you'll have a different one that has some synth lines in it. And I always love that when there's a mix of that.
Mm-hmm. And I think they did it really well. This album was one of the first purchases that I ever made when I got a debit card and was able to make purchases online. So this album really does have a very special place in my heart. So like Morella's Sleep and Nocturne and Still I Can Hear You Singing, these songs are amazing. I listened to it to review for you today, and I don't think I've listened to this album in like 6 or 7 years, and I still knew all the words to all the songs.
Oh my goodness. My favorite song is Xmas X.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know what that means, but I've always loved that song.
It's a great song. Yeah, this band also started off as a trio of, what are their names?
Michael Knust.
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 Is it Michael?
Yeah, it's Michael.
So he's the main guy behind the band.
Yeah.
And the remaining member.
The other two members, they dropped off, and in 1998, Michael continued the project with the woman he is now married to, Andrea. And that's why after 1998, you start getting some of these tracks with more female vocals on them. So that's why you hear more of that on their albums after that. So Into the Ice in 2001 and Tragedia Nosferata in 2006. And on their new release, Intermezzo.
So can we move on to Intermezzo?
I mean, I could talk to you guys all day about Dancing Ferret Records because
right.
they were really great. They put out some great comps. I'm so sad that they stopped releasing new stuff in 2008. They had They're Sleep by Dawn, webzine,
Oh,
and comps, and
yeah.
those were so good. You could get them at Hot Topic. They were super cheap and super varied. They also put out a DVD of like 22 music videos at one point.
I think I have that in this house somewhere.
If you do, that is amazing, and we need to watch it.
We're gonna go look for it later.
But that was a lot of that was done by DJ Ferret, who I think was out of Philly, and he did a lot of really, really cool stuff promoting music and Dancing Ferret Records. Like, I was so sad when they went under, because
anything
like,
that you love is going to go under.
Yeah, I know. Like, maybe they'll resurrect like Cleo. I mean, alongside Cleo, that was like the logo that I would look for when I was digging through used CD bins. Yeah. So Intermezzo.
So Intermezzo, you can get it on Bandcamp. First off, it surprised me a little because the font doesn't even have Paralysed Age's typical font and logo that you...
Which is like more scratchy.
Yeah, it kind of looks like they just printed this out and here you go, here's your font, slap that on there. But it's a great album. It's a good, solid release. You've got 12 tracks on there. What I'd mentioned before about having various styles within the tracks, that's all there. So, you start off with something like Crawl Away, and it's just like a perfect gothic rock song, and it's got like these deep, creepy lyrics. And then the very next song, you hear your like dark wave with some new wave elements mixed in, and it's something that you could dance to.
And I was a little bit hesitant. They put out their single Lifeboat, I think back in January.
That's the one like I was talking about, the dark wave, new wave vocals.
And it's such a great song. And I was still really hesitant because we've had a couple of bands who in the last, like year, including this year, have put out their, I don't want to say comeback, but more, they decided to make music after not making music for a really long time album. And I just can't stand them. Like, I love their older stuff, but I can't stand the new release that they have. But Paralysed Age is still very much Paralysed Age, but it's not all of the same from what we've expected to hear, from the last 3 releases. It's more mature.
It absolutely is.
In a great way. Like, they've just become more Paralysed Age. They're just like really...
They've grown up, but still the best parts of their sound, that 90s gothic rock, is still there, but they've kind of lost the cheesy vamp side of it.
Which I still liked, but it's more mature.
The content of the lyrics and the songs are better.
I felt that the content of the lyrics and the songs was definitely like very retrospective, like especially in Days That Are Gone, just talking about reflecting on life, because they are older now. I think, are they in their 50s? I think Anna Varney's in her 50s. But
that Days That Are Gone song and A Winter Love, they're kind of similar. Those to me are romantic, slow, dark wave, and they had those like sweeping keyboards. And I think those songs in particular stand out. I wouldn't have expected that from older Paralysed Age.
Yeah.
And just sticking those in there shows their maturity. It shows you're not listening to your cheesy 90s goth anymore.
And it, gosh, I could sing this album's praises all day. It's really great.
And the female vocals, a great addition. Definitely one of the standout pieces are Dust of the Years and Evelyn. Those are very vocal
Evelyn
heavy.
Was beautiful.
It was.
It was a beautiful track.
It was. And I was thinking of like an Edgar Allan Poe poem or something like that. Not really sure what the lyrics are about, but you can tell there's a lot of heartfelt. It's longing. These are like true love songs. So instead of girls being necky, it's romantic love letters to the society.
To their past selves. I feel like it's their past selves. I really do feel like that just listening through it. I would need to do a deep dive into the lyrics, but I definitely feel it's very much a retrospective. Yeah. So go buy it. Go buy everything we talk about. We're going to say that every single week because we do. We do. And we think supporting the artists is important because we want them to keep making music. Insert preachy message here.
Buy music.
Yeah.
Support your labels and bands. That's it.